Also here, in a general sense, a sense in Europe that the true Putin summit in Alaska could be seismic, even as the White House and the president play down expectations. Britain, France, and Germany, leaders of the coalition of the willing, today pledged to provide what it called a reassurance force inside Ukraine to, quote, effectively defend its sovereignty and territorial integrity. This came after a virtual call with President Trump and Ukrainian President Zelensky. The deterrent effect of a reassurance force is anyone's guess. Part of that answer surely will hinge upon that force's size, its warfighting potential, and its rules of engagement. All of those specifics seem diplomatic miles away, yet the European conversation suggests an expectation that, well, they better be ready if and when a ceasefire, the stated goal of the Alaska summit, is achieved. President Trump said today if things go well in his face-to-face with Vladimir Putin, a meeting with Putin and Zelensky and possibly even Trump could be held in short order. Trump also conceded, though, that all previous efforts with Putin to stop the war and end the systematic slaughter of Ukrainian civilians have failed. With this as a backdrop, we turn or look straight ahead to Ed O'Keefe at the White House. Ed, good to see you. Thanks for joining us. You were there with the president at the Kennedy Center when he talked kind of openly about the various possibilities of what's to take place in Alaska. Walk us through that.
Well, you said the Padres haven't been in first since when?
2010, this late in the
2010.
season.
Okay. Well, go Yankees. Anyway.
Oh, that's such a hard thing to be a Yankee fan. So hard. Oh, boo-hoo.
Yeah. Some things in life have to be easy, Major. As for the Russians, serious consequences. He said there would be serious consequences if things don't go well. What could a serious consequence at this point be, given that all forms of economic and political isolation haven't seemed to work? Some experts we spoke to today who track the war pretty closely say it's those secondary sanctions or potential penalties on India, for example, or others who buy Russian oil that really could continue to squeeze Russia if their customers are compelled not to buy from them anymore, certainly not the oil, which, of course, is one of their biggest assets and exports. So that is one possibility, and we've already seen the president start to put pressure, economic pressure on India, for example, because of its purchasing of Russian oil. Beyond that, it's really not clear what more there could be done, save for more direct military engagement, which nobody in Europe or here in the United States seems to be interested in. And there's also the broader question of, is this really just about Ukraine, or is the president using this meeting for a broader conversation about U.S.-Russian relations or the world order as it is, and trying to reset it in Trump's mind while also engaging Putin? That part is just not clear. But the Europeans certainly, at least for now, pleased that they were able to get FaceTime, if not just virtually, with the president today to get in his ear and remind him what it is they're concerned about and they want to see accomplished or not accomplished during this exchange on Friday.
Ed, as you know, there are many ways to paint a backdrop of this summit, but one of the most important ways, it seems to me, whatever my opinion might be worth, is that only last week there was a theoretical possibility of those sanctions going into effect if something hadn't been resolved, and they have been delayed. And that kept, as another backdrop, being extended. So there is a flinch effect here. When the president gets close to that, he backs away from it. Is that not part of the backdrop for this summit?
Totally. There's that. There's the issue of who is most influencing him as he goes into this big meeting. Is it what the Europeans told him today? Is it somebody else tomorrow? Is it some other unforeseen event that transpires in the next 2 days? We have to wait and see. But certainly at this point, it's the economic pressure, perhaps most immediately, that could be applied, if not on Russia itself, then more broadly on its customer base, as small as it may be, but as important as it is to the Russian economy.
A Yankee fan, and I do not hold on him against him. Ed O'Keefe on the White House North Lawn. Thank you, sir.
Take care.
Appreciate it. CBS News national security contributor Samantha Vinograd joins me now. I'm not going to quiz you on your baseball allegiances. We'll skip right over.
Major.
Okay.
I will ally myself with Ed, the Yankees.
Great. Another Yankee fan as well. Sometimes what presidents say is important, and how they say it is important. It's frequently true with President Trump. So let's just get some sound from today on the floor about what he said and how he said it. First, about whether there could be a second meeting or not. Let's listen.
Now, there may be no second meeting, because if I feel that it's not appropriate to have it because I didn't get the answers that we have to have, then we're not going to have a second meeting.
Now, I want to play for you sound from the president on a question posed to him about consequences if things don't go well.
Will Russia face any consequences if Vladimir Putin does not agree to stop the war after your meeting on Friday?
Yes, they will. Yeah.
What will the consequences
There will be
be?
consequences.
Sanctions, tariffs?
There will be, I don't have to say, there will be very severe consequences.
Okay, Sam, evaluate what we just heard from the president.
Well, it's vague, to put it mildly. And when we think about what President Trump says now he wants to get out of this meeting, it's not a ceasefire. The White House press secretary took that off the table. This meeting instead is going to be for President Trump to feel out President Putin's intentions. Major, let me tell you something. Normally, presidents don't feel out another leader's intentions. They rely on intelligence. They rely on their intelligence community before a summit, during and after, to give a real picture of what a foreign counterpart is actually thinking, what they're actually hoping to achieve. President Trump historically has not relied on his intelligence community. You'll remember back in Helsinki,
that's right.
he disagreed
Yeah.
with their assessment of President Putin. So I'm actually wondering on the ground in Anchorage what he's using to judge whether Putin is serious or not. And on the economic sanctions, look, he could easily go after China for their purchases of Russian oil. He could easily go after Turkey for their purchases of Russian oil. But so far, he's threatening consequences and just moving the goalposts from a timing perspective instead of imposing them.
And when the phrase feel out meeting is used, is that just a way of saying that they don't have an agenda?
That may be the case, or it may just be evident to President Trump that he is very far from getting any kind of ceasefire arrangement between Russia and Ukraine, which is not surprising. It is hard to do. President Trump did box himself into a corner, though, when he said since the campaign he would get a deal done quickly. That has proved not possible. And so instead, we keep getting these promises of consequences. And then again, the goalposts moving from a timing perspective.
And the specificity from the Europeans about what they're willing to proffer in terms of security for Ukraine if there is some resolution. Does that feel like getting ahead of things to you, or that they're expecting something and they need to be ready?
I think it's two things. I think the Europeans know that they need to show President Trump that they are willing to do their part when it comes to Ukraine. The EU accounts for the largest amount of military assistance to Ukraine, but the U.S. has historically been the largest direct supplier. And President Trump has said the Europeans need to pay their fair share. He uses that phrase a lot. So I think they're trying to show Trump, hey, we're going to show up. And they're also trying to signal to Putin that if you make a deal and intend to blow through it, we're going to be there on the ground, perhaps, to try to fight back against you if you try to blow through any kind of ceasefire arrangement.
Have you ever heard this term reassurance force before? It seems new to me, and it doesn't really sound that muscular.
It does not. And, you know, as you mentioned, it depends how many troops and what their mission is. We've seen peacekeeping forces before that unfortunately have not been authorized to engage in combat and have stood by as foreign forces have invaded another country. So the details matter here. But I do think they're not just sending a message to Russia with this promise, they're sending a message to Trump, too.
Excellent. Sam Vinograd, always a pleasure. Thanks so much. We will have live coverage of President Trump's meeting with Russian President Putin in Alaska Friday. Plus, John Dickerson will anchor the CBS Evening News from Anchorage.